It was a very complex, brutal, disturbing crime scene.
One of Boone County's most horrific killings remains unsolved. It's 12 years later, but the detectives working the Stephanson case are leaving no stone unturned. In recent months, their investigation has led them even to Indiana to look at a possible connection to this highly publicized Delphi murders.
Yeah, Jessica Schmidt digs into these new developments in part one of this story from Cincinnati's Crime Vault.
Detective Coy Cox and his partner make up Boone County's cold case unit, yet they say the murder of Bill and Peggy Stephanson is far from cold. In fact, they've traveled to at least 14 other states to follow up on leads, including several trips to Delphi, Indiana. And they're pursuing potential breaks in the case using a DNA profile.
May 29th, 2011 was a sunny Sunday in the suburbs.
It was a spring day, like most around here in northern Kentucky.
But the day quickly turned dark after a gruesome discovery.
It was a very complex, brutal, disturbing crime scene.
Two people, both 74 years old, were found dead inside their Boone County home. A beloved husband and wife, Bill and Peggy Stephanson. A concerned family member found them when they didn't show up for church.
We think it was, a very quick surprise attack. There was some blunt force trauma.
Detective Coy Cox and his partner Tim Adams were sent to the scene. The house had been altered and the bodies were staged.
There were things that were done to their bodies that was horrific. They changed several things in the scene, which is really, really unusual for any murder scene anywhere in the country or in the world.
Whoever killed the couple did not take off right away.
There was quite a bit of time that the perpetrators, the killers, stayed in the residence or felt comfortable coming back to the scene.
In general, detectives believe that kind of behavior points to a suspect who knows the victims. And Bill and Peggy Stephanson were loved by many.
They were amazing people, good Christian people. They wanted to share their faith and their love with the community. And
they've missed out on so much. They've missed out on weddings. They've missed out on 3 new great-grandbabies, graduations, like I said, weddings of the grandkids. All the grandkids are married.
That's Bill and Peggy's daughter, Beth Stephanson Victor. She describes her parents as devoted churchgoers, a couple who loved their big family. Peggy was the quiet one, an experienced and talented musician.
Played for many weddings, funerals, played for a couple of the grandkids' weddings. She loved to play the organ. She played the piano too.
Bill was the opposite, known as the life of the party. A man heavily involved in ministry, he shared his faith with truck drivers every Sunday at a truck stop in Florence.
They had a trailer out that they would open up during the week, and if truckers wanted to stop in and pray, they would pray with them.
That connection to the community became a possible lead for detectives Cox and Adams. Today, they handle the sheriff's cold case unit, but they're still investigating the Stephanson case. Over the years, they've interviewed a lot of truck drivers.
Early on in the investigation, we had information that someone had been at the truck stop looking for Bill pretty aggressively, banging on the door of the chapel, asking if anyone had seen Bill.
There are truckers they've ruled out, others still on their radar. They've also looked into Charles Stevie Stephanson, the nephew of Bill and Peggy. Detective Cox says they've even spoken to him recently. Stevie is locked up, spending life in prison for beating an Indiana woman to death with a skillet.
We feel pretty comfortable that that's in a good place. There is no final statement on there. It isn't that he's been cleared. But we have certainly vetted him in every way possible.
One of the largest developments in the case could still bring them the break they need to close it. Detective Cox says they have an unknown DNA profile.
We don't know who that DNA belongs to, and it was found at our crime scene.
It is complex, so genealogy isn't an option, at least right now. There is testing they can do to try to find a match, and that's something they're actively pursuing.
We're just still hopeful that they'll come up with the right evidence that they need, and a confession would be great. but we're still hopeful that they'll solve it.
More than a decade later, tips continue to come in. Detectives even traveled across state lines in recent weeks to see if what happened to the Stephensons has any connection to the murder of 2 young girls in Delphi.
We had received some information from an individual regarding the Delphi murders in Indiana, and they had said, for all of these reasons, we believe it may be the same person. We are careful in this case because of the complexity of some of the evidence, not to say that anyone has been ruled out, but we certainly take it all the way down the path as far as we can to where it's like, okay, we don't see the need to go on down this path because it's not looking like that is our individual.
In November 2022, a tip led them to a neighboring state.
We had received some information from an individual regarding the Delphi murders in Indiana, and they had said, for all of these reasons, we believe it may be the same person that was involved in the Stephanson case.
Right away, detectives started looking into a possible connection between Bill and Peggy's 2011 murder and the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German in Delphi, Indiana in 2017, a case that's garnered national attention.
There's things that will make you really interested in a case, simply more than just somebody saying, hey, we think this person might have been involved. But we had a little piece of information that really made that case specifically interesting to us.
The information pointed Boone County investigators toward a specific person who had a specific item they were interested in.
I'm not going to tell you about that, what that item was. We've recently been in the northern part of Indiana investigating this guy, following him around, looking for things, collecting all of the information and the evidence that we would need to at least vet him as best we could with our case. He was cooperative. We were able to go down that path with him, and he articulated good reason to why that may have existed.
They sent what they found to Indiana State Police, since they are handling the murder investigation of Abby and Libby. To be clear, Detective Cox says their investigation into a potential link between the 2 cases did not include Richard Allen.
We received information from Indiana as it related to some persons, and we forwarded that to them. We did not send them the information that led them to Richard Allen. We sent them information that may have had some parallel consistencies with where they are with that case right now.
When Boone County detectives were in Delphi, Allen was already in jail, where he has been since October of 2022, accused of Abby and Libby's murders.
I know that sounds a little cloak and dagger, but I'm just sorry about that. We're not going any further with it.